Hey everyone, today I want to talk about why this here is a perfect combo for gaming on the go, because it's like bringing your gaming PC and a big TV with you wherever you are. Because let's be honest, for many of you, gaming handhelds are kind of a joke. They're often considered either too weak or too small, with their 7 or 8-inch displays. Many think they have poor battery life. Yeah, people are skeptical about them. And on the one hand, I get that, but then I personally just find the hardware behind them fascinating. A whole powerful 8 or even 16 core PC just in the palm of your hands, with a very fast display and a controller included. Able to play, well, most games in some way, depending on the kind of handheld you got. Now, the GPD Win 5 is solving the performance issue because it's just so much more powerful, and yeah, it's also much more expensive, and we'll come to that later, compared to the first 2 to 3 waves of gaming handhelds, including the Steam Deck, the Asus ROG Ally here, or now the Xbox Ally X, and the Lenovo Legion Go 1 or 2. Because the GPD Win 5 sports super powerful AMD Strix Halo CPUs with the Radeon 8050S and 8060S that can perform on the same level as an RTX 4060 gaming laptop. And they support up to 128 GB of RAM, with the possibility to adjust your VRAM size. Now, I know that Intel's Panther Lake CPUs with the B370 and B390 are around the corner, but that's a topic for another video, and there are no handhelds with these in sight just yet. And then we also have gadgets like VITURE's The Beast here, a brand new pair of XR glasses that virtually throw a very big and very bright and sharp OLED screen with a resolution of 1920 by up to 1200 pixels and a refresh rate of 120 Hz right in front of you, wherever you are, on the couch, in your bed, on a train, on a plane, at the doctor's office, the park bench. And these are not much bigger and heavier than regular sunglasses. And in combination with the GPD Win 5, that is, well, it's a game changer. Now, don't get me wrong, if you're familiar with the world of XR glasses, these are not perfect yet. VITURE is providing constant firmware updates since their release in January this year, but for the use case with a GPD Win 5, they are already pretty awesome. You can check out my initial review of them afterwards, while I'm also planning to do a follow-up video about them soon that also includes further bug fixing and firmware updates. So look out for the links in the description. Now, I have been using these two together so much in the last couple of weeks because it just works so goddamn well. This is just so good, playing Forza Horizon 5 on this. It's like gaming in a cinema with the dark area around the screen. It's also so much bigger than my 55-inch TV right here in front of me. But this is even usable on the outside, really, thanks to the electrochromic dimming, even on a sunny day like in this footage. Let me know in the comments if you would use this combo here in public. Previous gaming handhelds like the Asus ROG Ally here, they have the problem that you usually can't play at native 1080p with higher settings or with 30 FPS only. They're just not powerful enough for that in most games with the Ryzen Z1 or Z2 Extreme or Intel Arc chips. So you need to compromise. You just end up using 1080p plus FSR or XeSS on balanced or ultra performance at low settings for newer games, And since the simulated screen in here is pretty big, like comparable to a 28-inch screen right in front of you at your desk, or a 140-inch TV at 3 meters in front of you, you can start to see pixels if you do that. You can see artifacts, you can see blurriness. But not in this case here, in the combination, because the GPD Win 5 is powerful enough to run these games at higher resolutions and with higher settings, or let's say at native 1200p. And you can often even make use of the 120 Hz display of the VITURE Beast. Now, that of course depends on how much power you will allow them to draw, which also heavily affects their battery life. And you can use something between like 15 to 80 watt for the APU in the GPD Win 5. But let's say, for example, Cyberpunk 2077 at 1080p with high settings and 60 FPS is possible for 2 hours on this handheld. And you can of course use power banks like this one here to further improve that if you want. Oh, and the GPD Win 5 uses its battery as an external battery pack, which you can swap. while you have to turn it off to do so. So a power bank would probably be a better idea in my opinion, as you can use these for other purposes as well. Now the cool thing is that this is just plug and play. You just insert the VITURE Beast XR glasses and they work perfectly fine with the GPD Win 5. There's no additional software needed, while you can of course install optional software for additional features like the official VITURE Spacewalker app for Windows, or for example something like Breezy Desktop if you want to run your GPD Win 5 with a Linux-based bedside installation. However, the VITURE Beast now offer integrated 3DOF, meaning you can pin your image to a specific point in the virtual space and it stays there. Or you can use Smooth Follow, which is something like an anti-shake function where it slowly follows your movements. Since in the normal mode, the image just sticks right with your face and you'll notice every little twitch of your head or your neck. You know, these 3DOF and such, that really helps on a bike, on an exercise bike, since your head will probably wobble around quite a bit using one of them. A downside of the Prisma lenses inside the VITURE Beast is that they do suffer from some chromatic aberration and fringing at the sides of the screen, which is a bummer for productivity, but for gaming and watching content it turned out really okay for my personal taste. I just prefer them over other XR glasses due to the bigger field of view of 58 degrees, because I sometimes have issues seeing the whole screen at once with other XR glasses. Let's also have a quick look at a few games using the GPD Win 5 at 1200p with higher settings, and I try to use native resolution whenever possible, get at least 60 FPS or even 120 FPS if possible. For our graders, I actually used FSR on quality in combination with high settings at 1080p because I wanted to get more like 120-ish FPS to make use of the fast 120Hz display of the VITURE Beast, since this is a multiplayer shooter. If you're okay with less than 120 Hz or FPS, you can easily use native 1080p or 1200p without FSR once that is working on the VITURE Beast after further firmware upgrades. However, the game is perfectly playable that way at a TDP of 75 watt for the GPD Win 5. If you're okay with 60-ish FPS, you could easily reduce that to 50 or maybe even 40 watt instead. All in all, a great game to play via XR glasses on a big screen. While I consider the speakers inside the VITURE Beast pretty good, I would prefer using a headset, as this game just benefits from a precise audio source. For Cyberpunk 2077 I was using 1080p native without any upscaling in combination with high settings and got over 60 FPS in all scenes, sometimes in the 80s even. For that I was using a 75 watt TDP again. A bit less would be doable as well if you're okay with slightly less FPS, or activating FSR, or of course using the medium preset instead. Also, AMD frame generation would be an option here with a base FPS of 60 to get a more fluid gameplay and make use of the 120Hz display once again. Surely one of the coolest games to play on XR glasses due to the futuristic cyberpunk setup that reminds of in-game gadgets. For Forza Horizon 5 I was actually testing multiple settings. First with a 75 watt TDP at 1080p and ultra settings with MSAA by 2, which resulted in very high FPS of around 115 to 140 FPS and a very flat frame time graph, so no stuttering at all. The AMD Strix Halo chip with the Radeon 8060S just is a very strong APU after all. Switching from ultra to high settings is pushing the FPS further to around now 180 FPS. Not really necessary in that game, and you could reduce the TDP to get more battery life instead and a quieter GPD Win 5. For example, to around 30 watt like I did right here, which still gave me around 90 to 120 FPS with high settings at native 1080p with MSAA by 2. And Forza Horizon 5 really is one of my favorite games to play on handhelds, and especially with XR glasses, as that just really works and looks absolutely fantastic in my opinion. Kingdom Come Deliverance 2 is fine at 60 FPS, so I was actually setting the TDP to only 45 watt, which is still enough for 60 FPS or more, even with the high preset at 1080p. very well playable, and I just have to repeat myself, a lot of fun on XR glasses. And I kid you not, it does look clearer and sharper as the footage when you watch it on a WQHD or 4K screen. Overall, Kingdom Come Deliverance 2 is just a perfectly optimized game, as you might know. Super stable frame times here, absolutely enjoyable on the GPD Win 5 and VITURE Beast combo for sure. So, and last but not least, we also have to talk about the incredibly huge elephant in the room, the price. And as futuristic as this whole setup is, it's not cheap, like at all. We're talking kidney selling prices here. Now, the GPD Win 5 is absolutely suffering from the current RAM crisis. While I bought the 8050S version for $1,400 and the 8060S version for $1,600 with my own money, by the way, and that was including docking stations, battery, charger, and a handy transport case, both are now much more expensive if available at all. Because especially the cheaper 8050S version sold really well. However, you can check that via the link in the description and save $50 with my code Hubwood if it is in stock again at gpd-minipc.com. And they do seem to have some of the cheapest prices, while I did not have to pay any taxes at all upon delivery to Germany. Now, the VITURE Beast here costs $549 right now, but you can get 10% off with my code Hubwood using the links down below as well. Just keep in mind, shipping might be delayed because these things seem to sell out fast as well, so we might have to wait for the next batch to be ready. Yeah, I know this is a lot, I get that. I mean, if you play lighter or older games only, you could of course go with a used Asus ROG Ally 1 or a Steam Deck instead, because these are starting at around $300 right now, which is a good deal. But if you're traveling a lot or enjoy gaming on the toilet, your couch, your bed, and you kind of want to bring your gaming PC with you wherever you are, this is one of the best ways to do that in my opinion. And that's all for today's video. If you're interested in one of these two here, make sure to check out my other videos about them next. Also check out if I already made the follow-up for the VITURE Beast XR glasses, and don't forget to like the video and or subscribe to the channel, of course. That helps a lot. Thank you so much for watching until the very end. See you next time. Bye bye and tschüss.